Chapter 26. Someone Calls Me Ma'am. The first shelter on my list is called Creatures of Comfort. I'm not sure what that means, but it doesn't matter. Creatures of Comfort is located just 7 miles away outside the village of Effingham. I dial the number. "Hello," says a voice. "Hello," I say, my name, but the voice continues talking. It sounds like it belongs to a robot. Due to flooding, all services at Creatures of Comfort have been suspended. Shelter animals are temporarily being housed at the Holiday Inn in Belleville. Please call back at a later time or visit the Holiday Inn. We apologize for the inconvenience. The voice stops talking. I look down at my list. I had planned to cross out each shelter after I called it, but now I can't cross out Creatures of Comfort because I haven't actually spoken to anyone. I'll have to call back another day. I realize I'm going to need a code in order to keep track of my calls. I think for a moment. Then I write today's date by Creatures of Comfort, and next to that, CB. CB means call back. I dial the number of the second shelter on my list, Rescue Me. "Hello," says a voice, and I wait for the rest of the message. "Hello," the voice says again. The voice must belong to a real person. "Hello," I say. "My name is Rose Howard, and I'm looking for my dog. She got lost during the storm." "Hi, Rose," the voice sounds kind. I think it's a woman's voice. "I'm sorry about your dog. What does she look like?" I describe Rain and add that my father let her out in a superstorm without her collar. "Oh dear," "Oh dear," says the woman. "Well, we don't have any dogs here that match Rain's description, but dogs and cats that were separated from their owners are turning up every day. I'll take down your information so we can call you if anyone brings in a small blonde dog with white toes." 7 white toes, I remind her. Yes, 7 white toes. That's a good identifier. I give the woman my name and phone number and tell her I'll check back in a few days. I look at my list again. Next to Rescue Me, I write CBIAFD. This means check back in a few days. I call Furry Friends and the third shelter on my list. A man answers and I tell him about Rain. "Well, ma'am," he says, we're a very small shelter and only 2 dogs have been brought in since the storm, a poodle and a Yorkshire Terrier. I'm sorry." I give the man my name and phone number, hang up, and write CBIAFD. There are still 7 shelters to call before I can go to the second list. When I have called all 7, I look at the column I've made on the left-hand side of the paper. It reads CB, CBIAFD, 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 CB, NOATP. That means no one answered the phone. CB, CBIFAD, MPWWTTAK. Mean person who wouldn't talk to a kid. CB. So far, there is no sign of Rain. I spend the rest of the morning calling shelters. My father and my Uncle Weldon work on the temporary bridge. At lunchtime, we sit in the kitchen and eat nice, fresh, cold food from the refrigerator. Then I go back to my list, and my father and uncle go back to the bridge. By the end of the afternoon, I have called every shelter on all of my lists, and I have even called several of them a second time. I decide to ask Uncle Weldon to call the mean person. No one has seen Rain, but she could be wondering, I will have to do a lot of phoning before school starts again. Uncle Weldon stays for supper. What about the ad? I say when my father has served us hot dogs. What ad? Asks my father. Uncle Weldon clears his throat. I told Rose I'd put an ad in the paper about rain. Don't you miss her? I ask my father. Rain? Of course I miss her. Then why did you let her out? I start to say. My father jerks his head up so fast that I jump backwards in my chair. Uncle Weldon frowns. What's wrong? If she asks me that one more time, says my father, I swear I'll... My father stops suddenly. He's looking at his brother, and so am I. I see something in Uncle Weldon's eyes that I haven't seen before. Enough, Uncle Weldon says quietly to my father. Enough. I leap out of my chair and dance around the table. 2, 3, 5, 7, I cry. Settle down, Rose. Settle down, Uncle Weldon pats my chair. Come back and finish your supper. Settle down, Rose. Settle down. Come back and finish your supper, I repeat. Uncle Weldon, you didn't say any homonyms except my name. My father holds his hot dog in midair and glaring at my uncle and me. That's all right, Rose, says Uncle Weldon, because guess what? I thought of a new pair of homonyms for you today. How's this? Packed and packed. I forget about my father. That's a perfect one, I exclaim. It fits all the rules. I think for a moment, and if you follow that pattern, how about tact and tack? Brilliant, Uncle Weldon grins at me. After supper, we'll work on your list. Okay, I glance wearily at my father. I feel like Rain trying to figure out what kind of mood he's in. Did you know, I say as we're finishing supper, that if you add up the numbers of our names and subtract the numbers of Rain's name, you come up with 177, which is not a prime number. Uncle Weldon frowns, thinking this over. Is that good or bad? He asks finally. Before I can answer, my father says, Who cares?